Good morning, everybody. This is Pasquale Maggiore, and you are listening to, or watching, I should say, the Give Me 20 Minutes podcast. It is Sunday, July 20th, here in Western New York and beyond. Thank you so much for joining me here this morning. Coming at you a little bit later than I would like to. My ultimate goal is to do these podcasts first thing on Saturday morning. However, I had a hell of a week. We had our company golf tournament on Friday, so I'm still trying to recover from that. Special thank you to Marty Baran, who came out and spoke to the crowd of golfers, over 120 plus, before we got the festivities going at Diamond Hawk Golf Course. So all in all, Friday was a great day for golf and a great day to help raise awareness on the importance of blood donation and organ donation. If you want to see more from that event, you can check out my social media at WNY Pasquale on Facebook, Instagram, X. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you're subscribed. Have a topic to talk about here this week. Might be a little bit outdated, but I really wanted to get to it and talk about it, and we'll get into that momentarily. The event actually took place, the tragic event, I should say, took place last week in Niagara Falls. So if you've been in touch with the news, you probably know where I'm going with it. But before we get started with that, let's talk about the big event. Speaking is hard. Let's talk about the big event taking place on Saturday, September 27th at the Renaissance Club in North Tonawanda, located at 252 Vanderbilt Street, 6:30 p.m. bell time. It is family-friendly, local, and live professional wrestling action. Buffalo Championship Wrestling is back with the Big Fall Bash. We have not been at the Renaissance Club since April. We took our customary summer break. It's hard to do events in the summer. There is so much going on in Western New York in the summer, with festivals and fairs and beer tents and craft shows and any other fundraising event you can think of. There is something going on every weekend in Western New York, in Buffalo, to do. I personally, as a promoter, am not a fan of the summer events. I like to take the summers off to kind of recoup and recharge and go to those other events that I spoke about. Had the opportunity to help out the Renaissance Club, which I just spoke about at the Canal Fest yesterday. Got to be there again this morning at 11 o'clock, serving some fine Italian sausages that benefit the Renaissance Club. So, not a fan of doing the summer event. If somebody reaches out to me and says, hey, we'd like to have Buffalo Championship Wrestling be at whatever we want to present, talking is hard, part 2. We'd like to present some live professional wrestling action. I will do what I can to work with that person, as long as it's a 50-50 proposition. I don't want to be going out on Saturday mornings, on Sunday mornings, putting up posters, putting up flyers in the summer. I want to relax. I want to recharge my batteries, but I love doing this fall event. I'm a big fan of the Big Fall Bash. I will consider it our biggest event of the year. We move back to Saturdays. We do Wrestle Sunday in February every year, which is the first Sunday after the end of the NFL football season. Give people something to do to take their mind off the fact that there's no more football for 8 months. And then we go ahead and we do our April event at the end of the month of April. We also do that on a Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock. That also can be a little bit dicey too, because sometimes you get that great weather at the end of April and people don't want to be inside watching wrestling. They want to be doing stuff in their yard, getting stuff done in their garage, getting stuff done in their house. So that can be challenging as well. Case in point, we did an event at the Donovan Post a few years back in April, and it was 70 degrees outside. So, we decided, let's move the event outside. Let's not have our fine fans of Buffalo Championship Wrestling be sitting inside when, the live pro wrestling is going on. So we had the best of both worlds. We grilled up some hot dogs, had some pizza, It was a really great event. But as we focus on fall, don't focus too hard because we still have plenty of time that you need to enjoy in the summer. Although this Wednesday, Buffalo Bills training camp starting out, we'll get to that if we have time at the end of the program. But as you know, the name of the program is Give Me 20 Minutes. So I only have 20 minutes to talk to you as I go on this rant, I go on this tangent, getting away from what I was initially talking about, but getting right back to it. The Big Fall Bash, one of my favorite events, the biggest event of the year. Looking forward to it once again, Saturday night, September 27th. If you want to find out more information about the wrestlers that will be there, bcw-wny.com. You can also get your tickets there as well. If you want to follow Buffalo Championship Wrestling on social media, on most platforms at BCW WNY. I've also taken a bit of a social media break from Buffalo Championship Wrestling in the summer, which isn't the smartest move on my part. But again, it gets tedious. You want to enjoy your summer. You want to come home, eat dinner, take the dog for a walk, do some stuff outside. So I did kind of lose focus on what was going on there. But we're back in September. And Buffalo Championship Wrestling will be back in a big way with the Big Fall Bash. So please make sure you get your tickets for that. Come out and support a great evening of, once again, family-friendly, local, and live professional wrestling action. So I talked about it at the top of the program. We are going to get into it now. A very unfortunate event took place last Saturday in Niagara Falls, and it was a fire that damaged a restaurant that was near and dear to a lot of our hearts here in Western New York. I would say more specifically, the people in Niagara County. Michael's on Pine Avenue, once again, suffered a fire last Saturday. Michael's has a very special place in my heart. It was one of those spots that my father would take me as a young child to go get lunch or dinner. We'd go on a Saturday or a Sunday. Always had a great meal at Michael's. I remember getting the Superman spaghetti, which was a small plate of kid-sized spaghetti. I was not a small child, so I would normally eat my Superman spaghetti, no problem whatsoever. They also had an amazing antipasto salad. If you know about the antipasto life, you know what you're looking for when it comes to a good antipasto salad. The server would bring that salad, lay it down on your table, and you couldn't see the lettuce. You saw the ham, you saw the salami, you saw the capicola, you saw the finely rolled mozzarella cheese, which went on top of there, and you knew you were in for a good meal. That antipasto held up to this day. The last time I went to Michael's, it hasn't been recently, but antipasto still the same, still delicious. Michael's was still providing great quality home-cooked food up to this very day. So let's go to this story here. Once again, courtesy of WGRZ.com. I will put the story in the description of this podcast. The author of this story is Tommy Gallagher. Niagara Falls, New York. A Saturday night fire caused extensive damage at Michael's restaurant on Pine Avenue. City of Niagara Falls officials say firefighters were dispatched just after 9 p.m. for a report that smoke was coming from the restaurant. Fire crews were able to access the fire in the rear of the building and put it out. 2 firefighters were treated on the scene for heat exhaustion. Investigators are still investigating the cause of the fire, but say the fire is believed to have started in the main cooking area. Damages are estimated at $150,000. So that's not a small price to pay. You know, obviously we have insurance and things like that, but the way that the insurance companies have been working lately with all that has been going on in the world, we've heard some nightmare stories coming out of California with the wildfires about these insurance companies not fully wanting to cover the damages that were sustained. So let's hope for the best. If Michael's decides to reopen, let's transition over to Michael's Facebook page. This was posted last week, July 13th on Sunday after the events have occurred. And this is from the family at Michael's. To our community, last night, our beloved restaurant of 61 years experienced a devastating fire. Michael Capizzi started this iconic family restaurant back in 1966. While the loss is heartbreaking, we are beyond grateful to the incredible firefighters, emergency personnel, and all who responded swiftly and worked tirelessly to extinguish the fire. Their work and effort was nothing short of amazing, and we are forever grateful. As we begin to process this loss, please know that our thoughts are also with our staff and the community who have supported us for so long. To everyone who has reached out, thank you. Your kind words, memories, and support mean the world to us. Right now, we're taking time to process everything, and we appreciate your patience and understanding as we navigate the emotional days ahead. So, great words there, very emotional words being spoken by the family at Michael's restaurant. Once again, they mentioned in that post, not to mention the staff that is going to be out of work for the foreseeable future because they don't have a restaurant to go to. We go back and forth about Rite Aid closing. We talk about these other businesses closing, talk about where these people are going to find employment, where they're going to find their next job. When we talk about a local business like Michael's, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure a lot of other people are going to feel this way, it hits a lot closer to home. Once again, we talk about the importance on this program of supporting local businesses, about supporting local restaurants. We talk about if you want a service done, you want your hair cut, you want your oil change, you want any kind of service done to your home, you want to see those familiar faces and people who are regulars to Michael's restaurants get to know their servers. They get to know the people in the kitchen. They get to know the owner. They go back and support that business. They support that restaurant because it's consistent and they know they're making a difference. They know they're getting served from people who care, that they want to have a good meal. You're not walking into the A, B, or C chain restaurant. You're not just another number where the person behind the counter could not care less that you're there. They could not care less that you made the choice to come to that restaurant. You could have went to 50 other restaurants, but you chose to go there. This might just be a generalization, but I've had this conversation with a number of people about the lack of customer service that is out there. And it's very concerning. And it's the sign of the times. Talk about just the way that what we went through in 2020, how people came disconnected. We talk about the overusage of mobile devices and technology, which has harmed the ability for people to speak face to face, to have those interactions with other human beings. We see so many people walking on the street with their phone in their face, not paying attention to what's going on around them. People are just so distracted by their devices. They've lost that ability to connect and have that conversation with other people. When you talk about a restaurant like Michael's, you're going to have that personal connection. So, to the people that go into Michael's on a weekly, on a monthly basis, once again, I'm going to call myself out because it's been quite a while since I've gone to Michael's and hearing this news. We had a story we talked about a few months back on the podcast, same situation. Oh, we talked about Osteria 166, been there a few times. And then that story came out that they were changing and shifting their business model. And, I am a big fan of that restaurant. However, I have not gone there as much as I probably should have. And that is on me. That's my fault. I'm not supporting that local business like I always talk about doing. And like I said, I should. So, once again, a huge loss for the community in Niagara Falls. We will see what the future holds for Michael's restaurant. Maybe they decide, let's get this repaired. Let's get this up and running again. Maybe it's time to say goodbye. Maybe, this restaurant, once again, has been around for many, many years. Maybe the family is like, you know what? We just can't come back from this. We're going to move on. We're going to try another venture. And where does that leave, quote unquote, Little Italy in Niagara Falls? Those of us that are familiar with Niagara Falls know that Pine Avenue hasn't been very Italian in a number of years. You had Michael's, you have on the other end, you still have the Roman Catholic Church, Holy Family, Mary and Joseph Parish on Pine Avenue. You have that. You have a couple businesses in between, but you have that big, beautiful monument, like overhang, whatever the technical term is, Once again, I'm struggling here on a Sunday morning to find the right words that says Little Italy, Pine Avenue, Niagara Falls. There's not many Italian businesses left in that stretch. Things have really changed, not to mention, the neighborhood has changed over. They would be doing a smaller version of the Niagara Falls Italian Festival the last few years. They even moved it over to Hyde Park, but that's not happening this year. They're taking a break away from that. So, the history, the tradition of the Italian culture on Pine Avenue in Niagara Falls is really going away. I forgot to mention the big produce mart that's down there, the city market as well, Di Camillo's, Latina food. So you have a few businesses still holding on, but in the long run, not much Italian commerce going on in Niagara Falls. We lost the Como restaurant years back as well. So, that is really giving Pine Avenue a new look, a facelift, if you will. Different cultures moving in there, reforming, reshaping what Pine Avenue is all about. So, if you're from Niagara Falls, you used to go down Pine Avenue to get your shopping done, go get some food. If you drive down Pine Avenue now, it's going to look night and day difference to what you remember it and how you remember it as a child. Once again, I grew up in North Tonawanda, spent a lot of time in Wheatfield. My father conducted business in Niagara Falls, so we spent a lot of time in Niagara Falls around his bar, getting stuff done, running errands, going to those small businesses, picking up supplies for the bar. And, you're just not getting that same vibe. You're just not getting those same feelings as you had before. So a really crappy loss to lose Michaels, whether it's short term, whether it's long term, time will tell. We will find out. I hope that the family can kind of weather this storm, get through it, reopen the restaurant, not only for their own family, but for the regular customers and for Niagara Falls in general. I've expressed these frustrations a number of times before about Niagara Falls focusing more on these crappy chain restaurants, your ABC burger joints, your C, D, and E spaghetti joints, and all the other nonsense that's over by the fashion outlets in Niagara Falls. Hard to find a locally owned business in that area. You got to go to Judy's, you got to go to the Griffin, you got to go to other places right around there to make sure your dollar is going further and you're supporting small business in Niagara Falls. So I am getting close to the end of being out of time, but I'd like to thank you once again for listening to me here this morning on Give Me 20 Minutes. Please leave a comment below in the comment section. Shoot me a message, shoot me a text. Let me know what you feel about the show. If you have anything you want to specifically talk about this topic, I would love to hear back from you. And then we'll talk about that next week back here on the program. Once again, Buffalo Championship Wrestling back in action on Saturday, September 27th. I will post the link to get those tickets for that event in the description of this podcast. And once again, find us at BCWWNY on all forms of social media. But it's going to be another beautiful day here in Western New York on a Sunday. Make sure you get out, do something, be productive. Don't just sit around the house, because before you know it, summer will be over. But once again, my name is Pasquale Maggiore. Thank you again so much for listening to Give Me 20 Minutes. I will see you back here again next. Oh, Bill's training camp starts this week on Wednesday. I'm going to camp. I will post some photos about what's going on. So we're back into it. Once again, I want you to enjoy the summer. I don't want to rush through the summer, but Bill's season's right around the corner. Training camp starts this Wednesday. Return of the blue and red the following week. And then we have preseason football the week after that. We will have some news about another podcast with myself and one of my buddies. We're going to do something Bills related, and I will post that information on my social media. But this time, I'm really done. This is Pasquale Maggiore. You've been listening to Give Me 20 Minutes. Thank you so much, everyone. I will talk to you back here very soon.